Welcome to Midlife Matters. I'm Marie, and each week I'm joined by my friends Julie and Mindy to talk about all the topics keeping women in the middle years up at night. Today we're talking about transitions. Whether it's coming home from work or going to bed at night or something more life-altering, transitions can be challenging to navigate. Join us as we discuss how to make them a little bit easier. Let's get started. Listeners, today we are back. We have been off a little bit, but we are back with a new topic today, and I think it is so appropriate. We're going to be talking about transitions. And I really don't know that we've ever talked about transitions on Midlife Matters, and most of the topics that we do now after so many years, we've at least touched on before. But Mindy, you brought us this podcast topic and these questions, so you just felt like this was an idea in your mind. Why don't you give listeners some background?
Yeah, it just seemed like I had a kid that I knew that he was wanting to move, and I just thought it was way in the future. And then when he told us it was in like a couple weeks, like he decided to go ahead and like, why wait? I just had this gut punch feeling, that feeling that you get as a mom when something changes, you didn't know the end was coming, but now all of a sudden you realize like life is going to change again. And you're like, gosh. And then, we had all these events that were happening and literally just getting from the car to the house, putting makeup on, fixing my hair at night, like, what events do we have going? There's so many different, like, going in between things, and so it was just this thought of these daily transitions in between activities, these monumental seasons, as they change and you're transitioning. I just thought, gosh, I'm really kind of struggling sometimes with, the deep things, the shallow things, because I'm so ready for routine. I want things to stay the same. Can people just stay where they are? Can, can life just chill for just a minute? And so that's where I started pondering. I thought it's every transition I struggle with. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought maybe you guys might be able to relate and maybe we could talk about this.
Yeah. And I'm curious, like, do you feel like this is more in midlife? Was there a period of time in your life where you felt like there was less transition?
I don't know about for y'all, but for me, there's a lot of history now that I can look back on and see the transitions that happened. And so even going through your own Instagram page over the years, you have more memories of transitions and then things still continue to change. So I think I used to think when I was younger that things were going to stop changing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's nonsensical. But maybe I just have more baggage now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think change was maybe more transition. I didn't use that word. It was things
Mm,
got, there was growth or new
mm.
life or new, it seemed like things were on an uphill.
Mm.
And now
Yes.
transitions feel for me more like they involve a loss of some kind. I
Mm.
think
Yeah.
I think that may be a difference between now and then.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought about how, there's big transitions. And then, like you said, you can also just have the little hourly transitions in life. And then there's expected transitions, and then there's unexpected.
Right.
And they all feel different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I my first thought was with my grandchildren, I know my daughter will sometimes set a timer and say, we're leaving in 5 minutes. You have to have your shoes
Mm.
and socks on or whatever. And or at the playground, 2 minute warning. And otherwise you get meltdowns, and I thought, I'm kinda like a toddler. I need the
Mm-hmm.
I need the 5-minute warning, the 10-minute warning, the 1-year warning, whatever, to get
Mm-hmm.
mentally
Wow.
prepared, or I'll throw a little tantrum or have a meltdown.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we like unexpected transitions. I don't think anybody at any age loves to be going along on a path and then all of a sudden like, whoop, got to
Yeah,
turn
yeah,
around, or whoa, everything's changing right now.
yeah, gotta leave this, move on.
Yeah, a little heads up sometimes is nice, but one of the questions we're going to talk about, I realize sometimes if I have a heads up, just creates so much more anxiety for myself.
Or dread.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or dread. Yes, I dread the transition. So anyways, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. You wrote that you notice that life never seems to stay the same for any length of time. And sometimes change can wreak havoc even on the healthiest person. Like, what kind of physical impact does transitions have? You kind of mentioned like the anxiety. Like I went through a really big transition this weekend with two of my kids graduating from college, and it was really busy driving to a couple different states, spending the night in hotels. And like physically, I just felt like I had a headache for 5 days. Like my head just
Yeah.
didn't feel right. Like every time I opened my eyes when I woke up in the morning, I already started out with a headache. And you feel tired and you kind of feel emotionally on edge, even if you're celebrating something happy, because there's also bittersweet and there's working through the emotions of other people and trying to make everything fun and a big event. And like, there's just a lot that can physically impact you. You're not eating the same. And for different kinds of transitions, you can feel those in your body.
Yeah, I think it
Because
takes more energy to go through a transition. That's why we like to stay where we are, because you have to ramp up to get through the transition, and it can be tiring. Affect your
Yes.
sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Even like when I look ahead to the week, and I typically on probably Sundays look at like, all right, what do we have going this week? Well, these past couple of weeks, it's been all this end of the year stuff and senior stuff. And, it's like, oh, gear up. It's thinking about the energy I'm going to need to have, all the outfits I need to plan. Oh, I have to wear makeup and fix my hair like 4 nights this week. Like that's going to wear me out. But it's a something that it does wear me out physically. But also I'm trying to find comfort. And I don't know if you guys do this or not, but anytime I have an evening event, and I'll have a great time once I'm there and all that stuff. But I come home and I think I need to unwind. And that's where that's a transition that's very difficult for me is figuring out how to relax, especially at night, because I like to go to bed early. But if I can't and I've just come home from an event, I'm all like keyed up. So figuring out how to unwind and get to bed and get sleep, like that's a habit. That sleep habit goes out the window so fast, which feels like it bleeds in then to the next day.
It definitely impacts your sleep because you just can't calm your mind down like you normally would be
Right.
able to, maybe. And also, I was thinking about people that work, like my husband talks about this. He talks about the phenomenon of like the Sunday scaries. If you're working and you are moving into the work week and you start thinking about all that's on your plate, starting when you open your eyes Monday morning, that's a real phenomenon. And I think that transition carries its own type of reactions on Sundays every week for people.
Yeah, that gearing up because the week and the weekend are kind of two seasons. They're short seasons, but they're seasons and you treat them very differently. And so it takes a different amount of mental toughness almost to
Right.
what you're going into.
Yeah. And when you're going into a weekend or something fun you're looking forward to, it seems like this is going to be everything. This is going to fix everything. This is going to last forever. The weekend seems like it's going to be so long. And then on Sunday afternoon, you realize how short that was. And that you're right back, where you were.
Yes. Do you guys remember like when you first started like really adulting and you weren't in school anymore and you started going to work and you realized like you don't get spring break, you don't get Christmas break? Like there was something really, really hard about realizing, shoot, I'm an adult now.
Well, what are some of the daily transitions that you've struggled with in the past? Could be, going to bed after an event or waking up. Some people have a really hard time waking up or moving from one activity to another. I always think about this, and I think this is common to more people than probably we're willing to admit. But a lot of times I have difficulty transitioning to the next thing after I've gotten home in my car. So like say I've gone to Costco, it's really hard for me to transition to unloading the groceries and putting them away. So I might spend 10 minutes on my phone gearing up to even get out of my car in the garage. And you see like little Instagram reels and stuff of like women seeing their husbands pulling at night and they're like, when is he coming in? When is he coming in? And
Right.
really he's out there in the car, like trying to gear up for the transition to like move into family life after being at work all day. Like, I feel like that's a transition that people can kind of struggle with, like being
Yeah.
out and then coming back home.
Yeah, I looked that up because I thought I think we've mentioned this before, Marie,
Yeah.
and I thought, I really thought I was the only one in the whole world that did this. But I'll sit out in my car when I get home, and it's just good to be stationary instead of gearing up to be active, and it's warm, and I've got some music on or
Uh-huh.
whatever, and, when I looked it up, it said there's actually this thing called autistic inertia, and I thought, "Do I have
I'm
autism?"
autistic.
But it's like sitting in a parked car for an extended period of time because changing environments requires a sudden burst of mental energy, and you don't have
Yes.
it, you know?
Yes.
And
Oh,
I've
that's
even
really a good
gone
description.
Okay.
to a store and sat out in the parking lot and changed my mind and said, "I don't really need to go in,"
Yeah,
and drove
because
away.
it will take mental effort to go in and make
Yes,
choices and pick out what you wanted
Right.
and, like
and I kinda already
Right.
imagined like, I think I was at the J. Crew parking lot in Brentwood, and I thought, I don't think I really need anything." I kinda mentally
Yeah.
went through everything they might have, and I thought, I don't really need it," and and just drove away, and then probably drove home and sat in the garage for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what it is about where we live now. Our drive times between places are so much shorter than anywhere else we lived, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because I don't struggle with that anymore.
Oh.
Mm,
Like, I'm not in the car, but maybe 10 minutes, and so there's almost like my energy has stayed the same. Like, I
Okay.
leave home, I drive to the gym, I get out. I
Mhm.
get in the car, I drive home, I get out.
Mhm.
But it seems like my youngest, when he's been gone a long time and he's had to go to work at night, he gets home and then he sits in the car for such a long time. And usually I'll make him dinner. Like I'll kind of see he's on his way home and I'll make him dinner. And sometimes, he's in his car for so long, I call him. I'm like, but I'm going to bed. Like there's dinner in here. Take your time, but I'm
yeah.
out.
My son does that too.
So it's a real
Yeah.
thing, if you find yourself sitting in
Yes.
a car, it really is a phenomenon common to many people.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a nice little bubble.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I've always been kind of in awe of people that transition well. Like, I actually don't remember my husband doing that. Of course, there weren't phones really when my kids were little, but I was always in awe, even when I was a young mom, that he could go to work all day and then just come home and be on with the kids because I don't have the ability to be gone all day and then just come home and like be, all right, what's our next thing? Oh, what? You want me to look at that? You want me to play ball with you? You want me to wrestle? You want me to help with dinner? You want me to do like, I would need to say, I'm sorry, I need 30 minutes in a room by myself. I'll come out when I'm done.
Yeah.
I always assumed that was the commute home because
But do
John
you
almost had
ever
an
find
hour.
any commutes relaxing,
Right.
especially around Nashville?
I don't
Oh,
know, I
I
guess he
know.
was used to it, but I always felt like that was his downtime. That was his de-escalate from work and
Yeah,
relax,
Right.
and then he would stop at the mailbox, and he'd usually sit down there and read the mail,
yeah.
and then drive
Oh,
up and and then he was yeah, he was always usually ready for whatever
Yeah.
we
yeah.
wanted to do.
Well, I do remember talking to Bryce about this, and he had a long commute for many years, both in Atlanta and Nashville, and our kids were little. And so when he would come in, that's a lot of energy, when your kids
Mhm.
Yeah.
are little. Like they're on you, they're loud, it's physical, it's
Mhm.
everything. And so, but he'd still be in a suit and like they'd be jumping all over him. And he loved it. And so I'm like, how do you do that? Like I'm tapping out, tag you're it. I'm gonna leave them with you for a minute. But he said like he used to joke that like kid diapers are easy. Like being at work, it was hard to change adult diapers.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
kid problems, those were something that were
Manageable.
relaxing.
Fixable.
Yeah, he's like,
Mm.
this is easy. Like this is fun. I'm like, you
That's
have
so
fun.
true.
um, but it was relaxing to him. It was a transition for him to be able
Yeah.
to come in and like wrestle.
Yeah.
There's probably
Yeah.
seasons in life where you transition a little easier,
Yeah.
because like, I don't know, as my big kids change, even though I'm not physically impacted, I'm worn out. Like
Mhm.
I'm going through the emotions of it without actually physically going through it. And to
Mm.
me, it's heavy.
Mhm.
It takes a lot to manage my own emotions with it.
Mhm. Yeah. And I wonder if transitions do get harder as you get older. So that's why it's better to be raising kids when you're young and transitioning isn't that hard
More
because I think we
flexible
just aren't
yeah.
as flexible as we do get older, and it takes us longer to like switch gears. We're not on the fly all the time. You know, we haven't worked that muscle as much. We've gotten, a little
Out of
less.
habit.
We don't
out
have to
of
do it as
practice.
often, so we don't practice it as much. So who knows?
That
But
goes hand in hand with working out. That is actually the rule, is that as we get older, it's not that you have to necessarily stop working out. You should spend more time like warming up and cooling down, that it takes just a little longer. And that's
Mhm.
funny that you said that
Mhm.
because it's true. It just
Mhm.
takes more stretching. It takes a little longer,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
keep doing it.
Well, we talked about the car, but is there any transition that you guys have struggled with in the past?
Well, one area that I tend to notice is when I'm doing a project, typically something preferred, like going from a preferred activity to a necessary activity.
Mm.
Like if I'm sewing or painting a room or wallpapering or doing something that I really love, it's hard for me to stop and say, answer the question, what's for dinner? I'm like, what do we really need to eat? Like I'm doing this. Why do we need to eat?
I'm not even hungry. I love what I'm doing.
And so, yeah, I just remember anytime I had a project going, it seemed like the whole house just fell down around me, because nothing was getting done because I had a very hard time. I was like, no, I'm in this phase now. I'm in this mode and I want to finish it. And so I do a lot of self-talk now. Like, it's okay, Julie. You don't have to finish this right now. I can come back to this. That's okay. What's your hurry? I talk to myself and realize, kind of embrace that discomfort, but it'll be okay. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I tell myself, chill out, Mindy. Chill.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I do understand that, like if I'm in a project or something like that. I realized that I'm a highly motivated person only during the first half of the day. Every single day. I wake up so great. I have a great routine. I get everything pretty much done. If I have anything on my list, it's pretty much done by 2.
Mhm.
And then I feel like I can unwind. Well, this is where it all goes south because I have so much fun unwinding. I can't seem to wind back up. And so every night dinner is just like, oh, and I know it happens. It happens every single day. And
Yeah.
so it takes a lot of energy for me to gear back up after I have
Mhm.
spent all of my effort being so motivated. But then somehow I get motivated again at night to shower and get ready for bed because I want to be in bed by 9. So I am motivated still to get to bed at a good time. But there's that part of the day that's just like between 3 and 7. I don't even know what to do with it.
That's why when my kids were little, I cooked dinner in the mornings because I
Did you?
knew that if I waited till the afternoon, it might not happen.
That's a good
Yeah,
idea.
my days are better if I've got
Yeah.
something marinating or in the crock pot
Right.
or something like that
Started
first
at least,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, I should probably do that again.
Mhm. What ways have you found yourself being more successful? Like, what do you do? Like, Julie, you said you kind of gear up and talk to yourself, but what do you do to try to make yourself more successful with transitions?
Well, just on that example that I already gave about
Mhm.
projects, I've found that providing a place to work where I know I can leave something unfinished helps a
That's a
lot.
good idea.
That
Yeah.
if it's on my dining room table, I'm not going to feel good about leaving it. But
Mhm.
if it's someplace safe and out of the way, then so that's a good way to
Mhm.
do it.
Mindy, what are your most successful tips?
These are so stupid. This is what works for Mindy.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, let's go.
Psych yourself up. 1, 2,
Self-talk,
3,
self-talk.
go.
Self-talk. 1, 2, 3, let's go. And then I make myself get up. Sometimes literally I tell myself, don't think about it, just do it. And I
Mhm.
know that seems kind of odd. It actually works for my brain because if I notice I'm already starting to procrastinate in my own head.
Mm.
If I can
Mhm.
tell myself, just don't think about it, like just do it. And
Mhm.
then the 1, 2, 3, let's go. I get up. I learned, to choose the higher self when we read Happy School by Julie Gordon.
Mhm.
And so sometimes I tell myself to do it because the higher self will thank me later.
Mhm.
Like I will feel better later. And so
Mhm.
sometimes even I talked about when I'm coming home at night from an activity and I'm trying to unwind and I really just can stay up too late and I can really start snacking and have a whole party
Mm.
because I'm trying to unwind.
Mhm.
When I come home from an activity, if I tell myself, think about yourself in the morning,
Mhm.
how's your morning self going to feel if you go to
Mhm.
bed at a good time? And then I think, oh, she's going to be so happy if I
Mhm.
go to bed at a good time. And so my morning self will cheer me on. So there again, it's just another mental strategy. And then of course there's always the give yourself a reward
I was gonna
concept.
say, does anyone give
Yeah.
themselves a reward?
Yes, there's absolutely reward systems in place for me depending on what it is. Like it could be if I have a lot to do, the suffer for 15 minute,
Mhm.
mentality will kind of kick in. But then I'll tell myself, I'm going to have reward after I suffer. And
Mhm.
so then you can go sit on the front porch swing and you
Mhm.
can drink your coffee,
Yeah.
or you
Yeah.
can drink a cup of tea, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say I've got to get this done first. That's how
Mhm.
Right.
I guess I'd never thought of that as reward, but I guess that's what it is. But I'll
Mhm.
think I've got to do this first and then I can
Mhm.
go do this.
Mhm.
One other thing I found helpful is to kind of break things down into manageable tasks instead of putting this big, huge goal on my list because I'm a list maker. Make this phone call. I'll even
Yeah.
write
Mm.
the number out. And sometimes it's all it takes is that first
Mhm.
Mhm.
little bit of effort, and then I'm fine.
Mhm.
And I have to tell myself that sometimes too, like it'll be okay. You can do
Mhm.
this. You just have to do it. Get
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
started. Getting
Right.
started is the hardest part for me.
Yeah. So funny the different mind games we play with ourselves.
Mhm.
So, Marie, do you reward yourself? That seemed to strike a chord with you.
Oh, yeah, I do. Like even over the last 5 days as I went to 2 different graduations and drove to 2 different states and did all the things, I thought, "You know what? On Monday, I'm not going anywhere and I'm not answering to anybody." So maybe I'm super busy right now and
Yeah.
everything else is dictating my time and I'm all in, but I know on Monday at this time I am
Yeah.
gonna lay on the couch and I'm gonna tell myself that is my reward for the last 5 days, and I'm not gonna feel guilty about it.
That is amazing. Do you know, Julie gifted me with some DoorDash money when I had an injury, and
Oh,
I've
that was
been
good.
savoring it
Oh.
because when I have a day like that, like I'm not going anywhere,
Right.
Julie, that DoorDash money,
Oh.
I'm like, I'm sending bowls hibachi to my front door.
Uh,
Yes, and that's gonna be a reward for transitioning well, Mindy.
It is because I
that's
don't let
cool.
myself use it unless it's like, like I have done a
Something
lot. Or
special, yeah.
yes, yes. So that is definitely a reward.
Another thing for me that helps is to plan, like, even for
Oh,
bed, if I know, I wanna get to bed at a certain time, which is usually still late, I like to get ready for bed so that when I get sleepy, I can just go. There's
Mm.
nothing worse
yes,
than being sleepy and then knowing I have to brush my teeth and wash my face because 'cause
Mhm.
I'm not
yes.
gonna go to bed without doing that, and then I kinda get awake again, so I like to just be prepared. So that
Yeah.
makes that transition easier, and then, like I said before, dinner, if I have prepped, then that transition is easier. I can stop whatever I'm doing because I
Mhm,
know, "Oh, I just gotta do this. I just gotta put this in the pot or reheat this or whatever,"
mhm.
not come up with an entire idea at 4 o'clock
Mhm.
or 5 o'clock.
Mhm.
So those little things just make it easier. It's like you said, it's kinda silly that we have to do these things, but
Yeah.
it does help. It does help.
Well, I think planning for transitions is really helpful too. Like, there were a couple
Yeah.
weekends this spring. One weekend where I didn't do a good job of planning for transitions, and it kind of resulted in fighting amongst our family and meltdowns and resentments. And then there was a weekend where
Mm,
we had a lot of activities where I planned for transitions. And even though something looked like a good activity that we could shove in there, I said, no, I'm not going to do that because then I'm going to be in a bad mood when I have to do the next activity. So
right.
I think like knowing yourself and knowing that, all right, this is going to take a lot of emotional energy. And I know that there's an hour in between, but I'm actually going to use that hour to recharge. And then I'm going to be happier for my next thing rather than if I just try to maximize every single second.
Yeah,
Right.
I've really learned that too. Like just looking at a calendar and seeing open space doesn't mean you should fill it.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean I'm
Right.
open emotionally. I'm open,
Mhm.
I technically have those 2 hours or 3 hours, whatever,
Mhm.
but it's
Right.
not gonna be good if I fill it all up.
Mhm.
One thing that's really helped in this past, I'll say just season is, that pre-planning, but I would call it pre-praying,
Mm.
knowing, like, as things are gonna happen, and there's something about praying ahead of time for the Lord to order my steps and my thoughts in it, because even by praying and giving it to the Lord, it's almost like He orders, the activities that need to happen, like, I'm not procrastinating as much because I'm already giving it to him, and it's almost like he orders my steps through it.
Mhm.
And so, one activity, I hate to say this, but senior Sundays for my graduates have always been a hard day for me.
Mm.
I can look back and I remember being there with Abby, and I remember Grant, I remember Jacob, and there's something about senior Sundays that I kind of dread.
Mm.
And as much as I don't like saying that,
Mhm.
that's how I feel. And I started pre-praying,
Mhm.
like, that I would
Mhm.
not dread senior Sunday. It's a very special event. It's a very sweet time. And I wanted to just be at peace and I wanted to have joy. So I started praying for those things. Well, also, other people have a lot going on, and there's a lot of attitudes,
Mhm.
when you have a lot going on in your family. And so for me to be praying about it, praying through those activities, being aware and ready for those activities myself, it allowed me to be at peace and it allowed me to really help guide everyone else through.
Mhm.
And so, had I not been prepared, had I not been ready, it would have been a rough day, but
Mhm.
praise the Lord, it was a wonderful day. It's just transitions bring a lot of emotion depending on what that
Mhm.
transition is, and not just for yourself. And being the mom, you're never really out of being kind of the ringleader
Mhm.
and the one to kind of you
Set the
get
tone.
everybody's feelings and
Yeah.
emotions. Like you're managing these things whether you want to or not.
Mhm. I'm thinking back to when we did our Treat Yourself Like a Toddler episode, and I think we talked about transitions in there a little bit,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
just like I
Yeah, it came
watch
up.
yeah, when I'm around my grandchildren and we're discussing how to fit a lot of things in, my daughter's like, "Well, they're gonna need a nap," or, "They're gonna need some downtime." And we don't expect, like,
Hmm.
little kids to transition well. We plan for their transitions. We plan for, well, they're gonna need a snack, and they're gonna
Yeah.
need this to shift gears, and we need to do that with ourselves. We need to say, like, "All right, well, she's gonna need a little bit of time in between, and we better not be hungry, and, like, let's have some decent
She's gonna
sleep."
need some she's gonna need some cake in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't sleep well last night, so
But it's true, like, we all need some help with transitions sometimes.
Yeah.
So, anyways, alright, well, what are some pitfalls that you found? I know that one of the pitfalls that I fall into, it's a terrible pitfall, in the car with the transition is wasting a bunch of time on my phone, then trying to gear up for that big burst of mental energy, Julie, to go into the store or go back into the house. I'll say, "Well, let me look at my email. Well, let me check this." It's like, "Well, you don't need to be
Like
checking that
delaying
right
it.
now." Yes, it's delay, delay, delay.
Yeah.
well, I wonder if the strategy that Molly's using for the boys right now, "All right, we're gonna go to the store in 5 minutes,"
Yeah.
or, "We're gonna
Well,
go in
that
the
could help,
store
yeah.
in 2 minutes."
Yeah,
Yeah.
just give
Maybe, like
yourself permission to do it for 2 minutes, but then you're
yeah,
in the store. You gotta
like,
get
Yeah.
out.
cut it off at 2 minutes. I don't
Mhm.
know. Maybe that
Right.
Yeah.
would maybe that would work.
I know.
I guess, like you were just saying, Marie, when we have toddlers, we know they need transition time. We know they need preparation. But as adults, we don't have anybody doing that for us
No.
anymore.
Right.
We're taking care of that for kids, but nobody's doing that for us. So we just somehow forget that
Mhm.
we even need it. So we need,
Mhm.
somebody to manage our time.
Mhm.
for
I know we
us.
try to be on our best behavior. We don't really cry out, so people don't really realize,
Yeah.
"Oh, she's tired. She's hungry."
We try to hide the meltdowns and the
Yes,
tantrums.
we tend to hide those things a little bit better, but it
True.
still comes out in other ways. Like,
Yeah, it
we
does.
I mean,
Yeah.
you could definitely see
Crankiness.
it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. What pitfalls do you find, Mindy?
Um, Definitely, I try to seek comfort in the wrong ways, and that could be scrolling on my phone for too long. That could be procrastinating. I don't tend to lay in bed too long in the morning, but I could definitely go to bed early at night, which
Mm.
honestly, I'm not gonna say is a bad thing. I
Mhm.
I almost feel like when I'm done, I'm done. But, also, I tend to like, in pitfalls with transitions, I tend to pull away.
Mm.
Um and so especially if it's something I'm still grappling with, that it's a hard transition, a transition where I'm letting go,
Mhm.
Mhm.
I really just kinda wanna be by myself, and that's probably not always the best thing.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. That's my tendency too, and at a time when you know you need people, but you don't want 'em.
Mhm.
It's a weird
Because
place to
people
be.
take energy, like,
Mhm. Yeah.
and I know I have felt like, well, I don't feel great. I don't wanna try to make sure someone else knows I'm okay, because
Mhm.
I just
Yeah.
Mhm.
don't have the energy to do that right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, like, I don't even like me now, so why would anybody else?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I always think
Yeah.
of, like, animals, we associate them with, like, licking their wounds in private, and I think I kinda wanna lick my wounds in private, I don't wanna have to
Yes.
pretend I'm not hurting or pretend it feels
Right.
fine, like, I just wanna be alone and be able to feel my feelings without having to make you think I'm okay, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a day not that long ago that it was just an emotional day for me, and I knew that I was a mess on the inside. Just transition's about to happen, and so most days I feel fine, that day I didn't. And I also knew I needed to work out. I wasn't teaching, thankfully, but I thought, "Gosh, I'd really benefit from some physical exercise, but I really don't wanna be around people."
Mm.
And so what I ended up doing is I ended up going to a class, but I snuck in late and snuck out right before the end.
Mm.
So I didn't
Mhm.
have to talk. It's like it put me with people just enough and I got some exercise and everything, but I just wasn't capable even of having conversations. And
Mhm.
so it was like I patted myself on the back for that. I
Mhm.
I really did because I really could have just stayed at home that day, but
Sure.
not working out makes things worse for me too. So like I feel like I need to actually move and stretch and sweat,
Mhm.
and that does help.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, I know that some people, they may fall into, like, shopping online or
Yeah.
overeating or
Yeah.
doing something that they shouldn't probably be doing as, like, kind of a stopgap or a comfort or a procrastination or what like, some of those things can be because we're not transitioning well and we're looking for ways to make it easier on ourselves, or we're not, like no one's giving us a chance to transition well, then we're gonna grab for what we can to make ourselves feel better, or whatever, I
Yeah.
don't know, like, I think of also I think of I can't remember, I think this is a phenomenon among, like, young mothers, it's like, give, 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 and yeah, I should probably go to bed at night when they go to bed, but no one has given me any time by myself, so I'm taking it. I'm gonna stay up later than I should have because I haven't had any good
Mhm.
transition time all day long, and now I just have to grab it where I can. It's so understandable to me, like, I have to have some time by myself, and if the only time for me to get it is late at night, well, then I'm gonna have to take it then.
Yeah, because I
Right.
wasn't a morning person who was willing to get up, an hour or 2 before my kids, because that would have been
Right.
really early, so I chose nighttime, and that's kinda when I became a night owl because
Mhm.
I just lived for 8 o'clock at night, then I could do what I wanted to do, and that kept me up till midnight,
Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
and
Yeah,
it
that
was
was
kind of
me
an
too.
exhausting many years
Mhm.
because I still had to get up somewhat early.
Right.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was a big transition when I realized, that I didn't wanna stay up late anymore. Like, I was able to get maybe some margin in the middle of my day,
Mhm.
that I didn't have to stay up till 1 or 2 AM reading a book. Like, "Oh,
Mhm.
I could actually read that during my lunchtime," you know?
Mhm.
But that was a really big deal for me to then transition that, coming out of those seasons of constant, stimuli.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mindy, you asked, and this is so true. Have you found it easier to give someone else advice about this than actually doing it for yourselves? I mean, if someone came to me and said, how can I transition better? I would just say all the things that we've already said. Plan for it, make time in your schedule for it, understand it, figure out what helps you to do it. But here we are in midlife talking about this because we still can have trouble transitioning. So obviously it's easier to give advice than it is to take it.
Yeah, I think it's just coming to that place where you realize we still need to be like a toddler and we still
Mhm.
need this, that growing up doesn't mean you grow out of taking good care of yourself and,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Well,
getting sleep and eating well and all those things.
it's really uncomfortable to be sad. And, that the letting go seasons, like when my child was gonna move and has moved, and now that the last one's gonna graduate, like, I'm anticipating, like, "Okay, I just lost this kid, and now he's 5 hours away, and he used to be 45 minutes." Like, that makes me sad, and
Mhm.
then I think about Nathan, he's gonna move into college in August, and I'm excited, but that makes me sad. And
Mhm.
so it's hard to sit in sadness. Like, I would rather be mad. I would rather
Mhm.
be distracted. I would rather be doing anything else than be sad. And so, being okay with it, I can't say that I'm okay with it, but I think allowing myself and just calling it what it is helps. If I can label it like, you're sad,
Mhm.
feel sad. And so it still hurts, it
Mhm.
still hurts to feel transitions that take people away, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, because 'cause we've kind of been talking about a lot of, like, maybe surface level daily
Mhm.
transitions, but
Yeah.
really you have to plan and allow even more time for I would say, like, relationship transitions. Your kids are graduating, your kids are moving out, your
Mhm.
child gets married, different things that impact your relationship with them. And I usually mentally tell myself, "You get, like, a 2-week break." I don't usually need the whole 2 weeks, but, like, when both my last 2 went to college, I was like, from now until September 1st, I can lay on the couch if I want to. You get a free pass." I don't usually need that much time, but, like, if I wanted to just wallow in the sadness, I
Huh.
felt like, "You know what? I just get to wallow in the sadness if I want to." And I feel a freedom in saying, like, "This feels sad to me, so I'm just gonna take some time to be sad." Now, some people are not able to do that. They may be like, "I don't wanna feel that sad. I'm gonna get super busy at work, and I'm hitting the ground running, and I'm gonna try to not even think about this transition in life that I don't like." But for me, it's really helpful to say, "You get 2 weeks to just sit in this thing that you don't like."
Mhm.
Gosh, I have a lot to
Julie,
say
you've
about
had
that,
the
but
worst. You've had the absolute worst transition ever, and 2-week break is not gonna fix that.
right, I was gonna say, first of all, you have to learn that the transition is a marathon, not a sprint, and I'm
Mhm.
a sprinter. I
Mm.
mean, if I
Right.
was gonna choose when I ran
Yeah.
track, it was sprinting.
Mhm.
I don't wanna run 36 miles or however long it is,
Mhm.
and so that has been an adjustment, like, this isn't gonna I can't just do all the right things and it be better,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know? I'm gonna do all the right things and I'm gonna trudge through it, and it's
Mhm.
gonna get better, but it's gonna take time,
Mhm.
and that's been really hard. Like, widowhood has been the biggest transition of my life, and it's really kinda come with an identity crisis, like, I'm not a pair anymore, I'm me. I'm not part of a pair, and that's just a huge adjustment, and it's not, I mean, I think it's gonna be an adjustment the rest of my life, really,
Mhm.
Right.
Um, and I was talking with a friend that she lost her husband a little before John, and she had just written this beautiful thing, and I look at it often because she said, and she said, "You if you know, you know. Are you living in the after of a life-altering event? Like, you're either in the before, where everything's blissful, or you're in the after. And if you're in the after, you know it. Like everything's kind of like, well, this is after John died. This is after John got sick. Well, before
Mhm.
John got sick, like there's just
Mhm.
this dividing line in your life.
Mhm.
And I am in the after, and I will live in the after forever,
Mhm.
and there's no going back to the before. So it's like you're having to figure out um, a new way forward. You're not trying to get back to anything. For so long, I was trying to get back to me, get back
Mhm.
to the way things were just without him. It's like, no, like that's not even possible. So it's just kind of figuring out a new way forward. And I kind of remember my before and after moment. I don't. It wasn't like when I got the call that John was sick. It was. I remember very vividly. We had been to IKEA with another couple in Memphis, driven down there, and I'd gotten curtains. And I got home, got some curtain rods, and one night I was hanging them in my dining room. And I remember I needed some help, and John was in the den, and he just didn't seem like he felt well. And I asked him to come help me, and he did. And then, like, 2 days later, he had stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and I always think back to that, like, he hung those curtains with stage
Mhm.
4 pancreatic, but we didn't know it.
Mhm.
Like, I had no idea that our life was about to change
Mhm.
so drastically, and, like, what a transition,
Mhm.
just on a dime, your whole life changes, but yet the transition is gonna
Mhm.
last forever, but it felt very my foundation felt very shaky, very treacherous at the time, but what I wanna say is since then, I've learned that my foundation is very firm. My faith is very firm. I've been angry at God, I've questioned God, I've questioned his goodness, I've screamed, I've cried, but he could handle it, and his love and his faithfulness is firm, and my faith is firm, and that's just a testament to the goodness of God, it really is.
Mhm.
Um, Because I didn't have that vision when it all came down. I just didn't know. I think transitions are about fear of the unknown. Like, am I going to be okay? Am I going to be able to do this? And
Mhm.
what's it going to look like on the other side of the after?
Mhm.
Yeah, I definitely tried the busyness thing at first. Like you mentioned, that some people don't want to be sad, and sometimes there's just no getting around being sad. And
Mhm.
I often found that if I let myself feel that, I
Mhm.
would feel better. I could go do
Yeah.
something fun.
Mhm.
I could do something
Mm.
that required a lot of energy, but just to kind of live in denial of that didn't work for long.
It's almost harder to keep the sadness tamped down and in than it is to
Mhm.
just let it out.
Yeah, and it wasn't like I was denying that it was there. I just didn't wanna deal with it. I just
Right.
didn't wanna feel it,
Mhm.
because I thought that was gonna be too draining, but it wasn't. It was actually kinda cathartic,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just go cry in the shower, take a drive, and then I'd feel better.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
that was kinda some self-talk when I'd feel it, because each time for a while, I thought, "Okay, I'm done now." Like, I got
Mhm.
that out. Nope,
Mhm.
not done. Like, here it
Mhm.
comes.
Right.
Right.
But
Right.
I can tell myself, "It's okay. This is gonna be short-lived." Like, I tell myself that a lot now when things happen that are unexpected. Like, it's not always gonna be this way. Like, things change. I mean, for good, for bad, they change.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
that nothing stays the same, and sometimes that's good.
Mhm.
Sometimes it scares us, but sometimes it's good.
Mhm.
That was something that you mentioned that you didn't really know where your foundation was in the midst of that. And that feeling, even though I'm not walked in your shoes, that feeling has been present of I just don't know where my footing's at. The ground seems to be shifting. I don't know what's stable, what's firm, where the foundation is. And it's just really easy for a lot of fear and anxiety to come in when you're grieving and when you lose something that you love. And I read something, well, Psalm 23, we've talked about that before,
Mhm.
about how the Lord is our shepherd, we shall not want. But it has the line that even as we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, we will fear no evil. And I love making that in my prayer. The whole thing is so beautiful, but we're living in the shadow of death while we're on earth.
Mhm.
But the action point of that is that we're walking through it. and that we don't have to be afraid. And so often when we lose, when we're sad, we get really afraid, afraid of things we know and then afraid of things we don't know. And tomorrow can seem so far away and so scary. And so that foundation you learn, like I learn even as things come and go out of my life, the things that are temporary, the things that can be shaken out of your life, the only thing that can't is the word of God and his presence. And this morning, I just read this beautiful chapter in Psalm. It was Psalm 84, but it talked about how those who fear God, those who trust in the Lord, go from strength to strength. And that even when they walk through the valley of Baca, and I had to look up what is the valley of Baca? It's the valley of weeping or the valley of tears. That the tears would become like spring water. And or even the autumn rain would cover it with blessings. And so it talks about walking through the valley of weeping. And so finding when your ground shifts dramatically, finding God as being the foundation is a great comfort in the midst of great loss.
Yeah. It's like being on one of those swinging bridges, you know?
Mhm.
And you know how you kind of tenderly put your foot down, like you're trying to feel if it's steady, and it's almost like the more you lean on and step into relying on God, that you find it firmer and firmer and firmer. Like, yes, it's gonna hold.
Mhm.
Um, but you have to trust and lean. You have to get to that part, in order to find that. Um, I tend to wanna just find it by belief and,
Mhm.
reading it in the Bible and, but until it's, like, tested, I think that's when it really becomes you realize how firm it is, which I'm thankful for.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, trying to go through this without the Lord and my faith.
Mhm.
Um, this is another transition I've made in my mind, is to just normalize suffering and sadness. I don't mean in a pessimistic way, like to expect it all the time, but to normalize it. Like, this is part of life in a broken world. This is not going to be the end of sadness for me. Like, there will be
Yeah.
more. There will be more joy and
Mhm.
sadness. It's just part of life. So
Mhm.
that really does help kind of lessen the dread, because I expect it, and
Mhm.
I also expect to know how to get through it,
Mhm.
and that I will.
There's so much wisdom in that because it allows you to live. It
Mhm.
allows you to laugh and it allows you to have joy, even if you have no guarantees. Because we don't of what
Right.
tomorrow holds, that it gives us the freedom to not walk around in chains. It gives us the freedom to get up and to face the day and to go through it and to fully embrace the joy when we see it because we're looking
Mhm.
for it.
Mhm.
But we savor it, in those moments and we realize how beautiful they really are. And then just to hold tight, clinging to our shepherd when we're afraid again. But one of the beautiful things about transitions is that not every season lasts forever. And that's such a gift. Some seasons we want to hang on to forever and some we don't. And I think if you're in a hard season, something that gives comfort is that weeping may last for the night, but joy comes in
Mm.
the morning. We won't always be in this, whatever this is. And so I appreciate your testimony, Julie, of being able to find joy as you grieve.
Mhm.
Listeners, we would love to know your thoughts on transitions, different transitions that you've gone through, wisdom that you want to share. Come and find us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast, or you can email us at midlifematterspodcast@gmail.com. But before we go, we want to do I'm a Fan. All right, Mindy, what are you a fan of this week?
I am a fan of some new praise and worship songs. And I say some because I can't just pick one. It seems
Okay.
like recently I've heard some great new songs and so I've added them to my playlist. And my Joy in the Morning playlist that I made on Spotify came out of a season of wanting to transition into the day well. And so as soon as I get up in the morning, I start this praise and worship playlist, and it helps direct my mind and thoughts immediately to the Lord. And this has helped me start my day. So, a couple of songs I've added. One is by Mercy Me. It's called Make It Well. It is absolutely beautiful. It's a new take on the old hymn, It Is Well, but it's called Make It Well. Another one is by Matthew West, and it's called Good. It's really beautiful. I'll just leave it out there. And then a new one that I just heard, it's by Brandon Lake and Nick Jonas from the Jonas Brothers. I'm not even joking, but it's called The Author, and it is so beautiful. So those are 3 new worship and praise songs that I've added to my morning time playlist that help get my mind right as the day starts.
What a great transition in the morning, Mindy.
Yeah.
We need some help.
Yeah. All right, Julie, what are you a fan of this week?
Okay, I'm just going to say I'm a fan of my kids. I went on a cruise. I was gone for 12 days. Pretty much my greatest fear happened while I was gone. My mom fell and she has 2 pelvic fractures. But the real gift was that my children handled it on their own. They decided, and my mom decided, they just all decided together not to tell me while I was gone. And so, she wasn't hospitalized, no surgery. So they felt like, why do we need to tell mom? Because there's nothing she can do. She's going to worry, and she might even try to come home, which I don't even know how I would have done. And there was an 8-hour time difference at some point, and so it was very hard to communicate. So they just said, we're going to handle this. Mom needs this trip. And that was the best gift they could have ever given me, because when I found out, I was they thought I'd be mad at them, and I wasn't. But I know my first thought was, God, I prayed that my mom would be safe, and then I prayed that you'd give me just 12 days out of the year, without something like this happening. And I had to go back and apologize and say, I did get 12 days. I did get 12 days of peace, and it's just in a different way. I mean, it was one of the most incredible life experiences that I've had on a trip, seeing what I saw and learning. It was a teaching cruise with Christy McClelland. And so it would have all been different if they had told me. So I was so thankful that they really stepped up and handled it. And they're not really medically minded. I mean, it was a rough week for them. I mean, it was not easy, but I so appreciate it. So,
well, and listeners, this happened on day 3 or 4 of Julie's 12-day trip. So there was a lot of time for them to take care of things on their own. And that's amazing.
It wasn't like, oh, we'll just wait 2 days. She's coming home. It was pretty much the entire trip. So I kept texting them, and I was getting no response. And I thought, why are these people not communicating with me? And David said, well, Mom, because you texted me at 7 a.m. and I had been up all night. It's like,
yeah.
So just things like that. It was funny because I didn't really suspect anything was going on. I was just kind of miffed that nobody was talking to me.
Right.
And they just didn't want to let it slip,
Right.
I think it's safe to say we are all huge fans of Julie's kids.
I know. That's
wow,
so great.
way to go, guys! How mature.
I was impressed. I was, because I know full well that I would have probably said, I would have called somebody right away. Like they have to know. They have to know.
Yeah, that was really good and wise.
So it was a wise decision.
Yeah, I love that. All right, this week I'm a fan of something that might help the dinner time transition better.
Ooh.
So in midlife, I do not have to make a big meal every night. And so you think it might be easier just cooking for yourself or just your husband, but it's really not. It's never fun to make dinner. I've never found it to be fun. But in midlife, you can afford to give yourself a little bit of help. So I'm always forever looking at Costco. What would be easy but relatively healthy but make the dinner transition? And have you guys ever tried these They're made by Three Little Pigs, which I don't know if that's the best name of a company. Three Little Pigs lemon and herb chicken breasts, and they are sous vide lemon and herb chicken breasts, and they are in individually wrapped packages of 2. 3. Okay, so you get 6 chicken breasts, so there are 3 packages, 2 in each one, and then you get 3 packets of the sauce, the lemon and herb sauce. And they're really good. They're easy to make. They have 20 grams of protein per chicken breast. It says no antibiotics. I don't know. It seems like a good compromise if you're just not wanting to start from scratch. And then I usually make like some roasted sweet potatoes, and that's my dinner. So it's really easy, and it's just right there in the refrigerator, ready to go when I can't think of anything else to make. So
I like that cooking method too. I did that last night with some chicken. It was Indian chicken. Yeah.
Okay.
From Aldi, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, very tender, very good. I made
Not messy.
Yeah, I made Steve one for lunch today, and he thought it was really good. I think he thought that I made it from
Nice.
scratch.
That works too.
Sounds good on some pasta.
Yeah, it would be good on a lot of different things. Yeah, so help you with your dinner time transition. All right, Julie and Mindy, this was great talking with you, and hopefully this will be helpful to some people.
Hopefully it'll be helpful
Thanks
to
for
us.
the idea.
True.
I know.
All right, we'll talk with you next week.
All right.
Sounds great.
Okay,
Bye.
We're so happy you joined us today. You can find the show notes for this episode at midlifematterspodcast.com. Also, please tell a friend about the show and help them hit the free subscribe button on their favorite podcast app. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Midlife Matters Podcast. That's where we post pictures and stories about all the things we talk about in each episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.